This is the problem. You're too old, your standards are too high, your standard of living is too high, and you've outpaced the market.
Oh, snap. That was quite a statement. What do you think about that? Is that true?
Some men are not intimidated, they're scared. And what I mean by that is, what's
hey
up,
y'all,
everybody?
welcome back to the channel. Today we are discussing this very interesting interview from Kevin Samuels. It is still trending, so there's a lot of interest in this topic. Are men intimidated by these types of women, these Black professional, beautiful, successful women?
He was expressing that just the way I dress and put myself together, he was intimidated.
We feel like in this interview, Kevin didn't give a super clear answer, although we're going to infer what his answer is. But we are going to give a very direct answer to this question. This particular woman did a very good job, in contrast to a lot of other women on this show, the way that she represented herself. And she was intelligent, she was well-spoken, articulate, and she was very reasonable.
She was classy.
She was classy. But she said that she actually tried dating a truck driver, even though she's a business owner, and no shade to truck drivers, they can make good money.
Truck drivers can make great money.
But she said this one was not making good money. And she said she tried giving him a chance, but he said that he was intimidated by her.
When I've tried dating guys that were like the last gentleman that I was dating, he was a truck driver. I felt like I kept coming against a wall.
We're gonna dig into why. You got to stick around to the end for the answer to this question.
By the way, if you haven't seen our other Kevin Samuels reaction video, check it out. It's about why Black women are not getting married and what men really want in women. Check that one out. We're linking it in the description below. This is a big one. Are men intimidated, or why are they intimidated? We're gonna give our thought on how Kevin handled this question and what we agree with, what we disagree with. Now, to be clear, we don't endorse Kevin Samuels, but in this video, he had some valid points.
We're gonna jump right in. But before we do so, if you want more content on relationships and lifestyle, make sure that you like the video, click subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss an upload, because we upload a new video every week, y'all. When you subscribe, make sure to leave us a comment saying I subscribed, and we'll be more than happy to reach out to you personally and thank you for joining the family. And we do respond to every comment, so make sure that you give us your feedback. We want you to engage in this juicy but necessary discussion.
And we always, as you know, shout out one of our subscribers that's engaged with us. Today we're shouting out Kamisha. Thank you so much for engaging with us on a regular basis. We appreciate you.
Beautiful, professional women who want relationships, but they can't maintain them.
That's true. That's my first thoughts. There are a lot of educated, beautiful Black women that just can't get a man, or they can't maintain a relationship.
Yeah, there's definitely something to that. So I feel like that's kind of like the foundation of this whole concept that we're dealing with this interview. This woman is beautiful, she's professional, she's articulate. You can tell she has a great head on her shoulders. She wants love, she wants marriage and kids.
I do want to get married, and having children is priority for me.
Why is she having such a hard time finding a husband? When he asked her, what do you do?
I'm an entrepreneur building a business, starting from scratch.
Kevin, hearing everything that she is doing, how focused she is on her business, his question is,
So how are you gonna find balance in life?
how are you going to find balance? That kind of made me pause and think for a minute.
Why?
When we say that we want this family, have we thought about how we're making room for that family? How we're making space in our lives and our busy schedules for this husband and kids that we want so much.
I just think there's a lot of women that need to be thinking about that. Everybody talks about they're a young professional, or some of them not that young, professional and attractive. They want all these kids and they want a husband. A husband is going to want to know how you're going to put the family first. Most men, before he marries you, he wants to know how you're going to put the family first. I think it's a valid point to be concerned about what is the plan for balance. It's cool that you got your own business and that you got all that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, Most men want to know how that's going to affect his family if he starts one with you.
I personally was very busy when we started dating. I had to make room just to be able to date.
That's true.
Like I had to stop some of the things I was doing on a weekly basis because every night was already filled. I really had to make room just to be able to date. Then marriage was another level where I had to make space. And then kids was another level where I had to make space.
And let me just say, if she
So-
hadn't made space while we were dating, we wouldn't have been married. That's true. You got to make that space. If she would have shown me that her work was more important than seeing what we could build, I wouldn't have continued with that thing. That's true.
You would have dropped me.
Oh, for sure.
I don't believe it.
I would have dropped you.
Actually, he was a little stern at the beginning about his standards. Y'all will see what I mean when you watch our video, Why I Picked My Wife, and he tells it all, as well as our love story. I'm linking both videos below.
It's not about being stern or anything like that. It's just about knowing what you want. And a lot of men know that they don't want their woman to only be taking care of her career.
Something for ladies to think
I
about.
think he has a point. It's cool to be a young professional, and I definitely believe that women should, if they have the gifts and talents and the desire to kill it in the marketplace, kill it in the marketplace. But at the same time, if you're looking for a family, just know that's a different set of requirements.
So then Kevin asked her about how many kids she wants.
How many children do you want?
2 children, 2 or 3.
And he's asking her, since she has her business that she's building from scratch,
Would you have a housekeeper?
Yes.
Would you have a nanny?
Yes.
do you plan to have a nanny? She's like, yeah. You plan to have a housekeeper? She's like, yeah. He's like, so you live in LA, so that's already expensive.
Super expensive.
Then your lifestyle is supposed to include a nanny and a housekeeper on a regular basis. So the financial standard for this husband that you're looking for has to be pretty high, right?
It sure does.
How much would a man need to make in LA to afford 2 children, a wife, and himself to live an upper class life?
I would definitely say 500,000 or more. 650,000.
All right. What percentage of men earn $650,000 or more? You're talking about a fraction of a percent.
So now the dude's got to be in the top 1% financially to be able to support all that, unless her salary is going to help contribute. But Kevin asked her,
Do you earn over 6 figures?
No, I don't.
are you a 6-figure earner? And she was not. I'm sure she earned decent money, but it's like, dang, the type of lifestyle she wants, you're gonna need big income. She likes nice stuff. At the end of the day, she wants to live a certain lifestyle. She wants to live in an expensive city. You want a housekeeper, a nanny. Most people can't afford a nanny.
So now we're getting into standards. So what are her standards?
Would you decrease your lifestyle and your standard of living to marry an average man?
No, I would not decrease my lifestyle.
All right,
no.
so this is the problem.
Do we think her standards are realistic or not?
No, right? Because she's 36 years old. If she was 26, maybe. 36, you're already towards the end of that trajectory as far as birthing your own kids and all of that stuff. You don't have the time to be waiting for this rich dude to pop up who can support your lifestyle and the nanny. That's a lot. I'm not saying that she won't contribute, because she sounds like she would. That's just an expensive lifestyle, and the type of man that has that kind of money either already has kids and he may not want to do that again, or he wants a younger woman to do that with. So, and if she can,
Wait a minute.
that's true. 36, that's risky. It's already higher risk pregnancies.
That's a little old school.
That's still higher risk. That's science. Ain't old school.
No, we are actually younger at older ages now.
That is still riskier. At the end of the day, she seems like she's still an eligible person. She's probably cool, classy.
does.
She could get a good guy that's making decent money. He may not be making like $1 million a year. And she might get a guy that makes $1 million a year. It's just not a lot of those guys to begin with. It's not to say she's not worthy of this guy, maybe. But it's just not a lot of him. Maybe she can have some of those things. Her standards were a little high as far as what she wants, and she wants a lot.
As far as her standards are concerned, she said that she dated the truck driver who was not making a lot of money, And she elevated her standards after that experience because he said he was intimidated by her.
I felt like I had to level up my standards.
So what is a woman to do if she's a beautiful professional who intimidates men that make less money than she does?
Yeah, I mean, that's...
So now she's like, well,
But
let me get somebody on my level.
The question then, which leads to the title of the video, is why are they intimidated? If I was with a woman that made just more money than me, I don't know that I would automatically be intimidated by that. I'd be like, shoot, great. Let's use that to figure out how we can make some more money together. The question is, why are certain men intimidated? And Kevin touched on it. Do you look expensive? That would intimidate a man. It's like, man, I'm gonna be broke dealing with this.
She looks like she's gonna spend all his money.
Yeah, she looks like gonna spend all. That's intimidating. That's frustrating.
And now Kevin asked her a very good question.
The way you dealt with that truck driver, if I asked the truck driver, dating you was blank, how do you think he would say he experienced you? Do you like to find the things in life?
I do. I don't like saying no to myself for opportunities and experiences.
How did that truck driver perceive you? She said she didn't know the answer to that question, but then he asked, can he tell that you like the finer things in life? She said, yeah, like I do like the finer things in life, and I don't like telling myself no to opportunities and experiences that I want. So then they go into the question of,
can you afford these things?
I find a way to.
That means no.
I thought he had a really good point that if you are just finding a way to afford luxuries, that no, you cannot actually afford those luxuries. So the reason that this truck driver who wasn't making a lot of money was so intimidated by the way that she dressed and carried herself, this is just this particular, we're not saying this is why men are intimidated, but by her in this particular instance, because he could tell that she was gonna cost him a lot of money.
And a lot of men don't like that. I mean, a lot of men that want to marry you don't like that. Yeah, you're looking for a sugar daddy, he'll do that for a little while. And he may not just do it for you, but a man that's looking to marry you,
The myth of the power couple is something that was marketed to black women. The kind of man who's making the kind of money, they don't want to be partners in power couples. They want cooperative wives.
What you think about that?
I think he is getting a little technical as far as like the term power couple. In general, I don't think that, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in general, I don't think that men mind the term power couple because it can mean two intelligent people who are driven, partnering together. But I think he does have a point in that very powerful, successful, wealthy men are not necessarily looking for a woman that is so focused on only building her own empire versus a very capable and competent woman who is focused on helping him build his empire and them building something together, working together. So I think power couple to a wealthy, powerful man looks like someone who is focused on helping him go further in the direction that he's headed in. Someone who is focused on building an awesome family with him, but not someone who's necessarily just so focused on building her own kingdom and having her head buried in only her own affairs.
I mean, I would say that Kevin was probably right. Most men don't walk around talking about like, oh, we're gonna be a power couple together. Now, you do hear that occasionally, probably not as often as you hear a woman say it. I mean, most of the time, men are looking for, to your point, if you can help us to build this empire together, that's highly attractive to men. But if you're talking about a man that's already established, I think at that point, if you can help him to multiply it more, that's great. But more than that, he's gonna still have an emphasis on some of the things that I feel as though our society are devaluing is some of the domestic things. Are you nurturing? How do you make this man feel? That's a big part. A lot of times we talk about how does the man make the woman feel, but how do you make this man feel? Does he feel empowered? Does he feel respected and appreciated, admired? Does he feel like a hero? Men like to feel like heroes. We grow up watching heroes, and the woman that he saved or may reward him with a kiss on the cheek or something like that. And I know that's played out stereotypes, but men are socialized with those stereotypes, so they want to feel like a hero. But notice he feels rewarded by the affection he's getting from his woman. But a man that's powerful like that, he's not just looking for affection for himself. What he's looking for is someone that can be his partner and create a safe environment also for his children. They want someone to take care of the house and their kids and be a respectable mother.
Men at that level tend to be very traditional. Housewives.
He does want those things. So some of the domestic things I think are overlooked as far as making sure the family's taken care of. If you're a powerful man, you're looking for that more than you're looking for this woman that I'm gonna build my empire and he gonna build his empire. Not saying that he'll be turned off by that. I'm just saying he wants to make sure that his family's taken care of too.
Right. I think that's a really interesting point that you made, that our society focuses on how a man makes a woman feel, but there's a double standard there.
Sure.
Not giving any emphasis to how the woman makes the man feel. So I think that's a really great point, that if you're looking for a specific type of man, someone who does have his head on straight, who is confident in who he is and not waiting for you to validate who he is first, but he knows who he is, he knows where he's going, he has direction for his life, he has vision. If you're looking for that type of man, he is looking for a woman that is going to multiply him, that is going to benefit his life, that's going to help him to achieve the goals that he wants to achieve. And there are some goals, such as family, that a man cannot achieve without a woman.
That's right.
So he is thinking very practically that I want a woman who allows me to be her man, who makes me feel celebrated, powerful, who makes me feel like her hero, who lets me help her, lets me take care of her, lets me protect her. Not the type of woman that's just like, I can do bad all by myself, but this powerful man who takes pride in achieving, who takes pride in being a man. He wants to be your man. And so it's not so much that just dressing nicely or making good money is intimidating to men, but that type of man that you are looking for, does he feel like you make him feel like your man? Do you make him feel like a man in the relationship? I think that's more so what they're looking for. Some of the basics, just do you make him feel like a man?
That's true. That is true. I agree 100%.
The kind of man who's making the kind of money, they don't want to be partners and power couples. They want cooperative wives.
That was an interesting summation to say that these powerful, successful men want cooperative wives.
Agreed.
He's saying that although women pride themselves on, I got the power, or who runs the world, girls. So we're priding ourselves based off of power, things that are masculine. But he's saying that this type of man who's powerful, he wants a feminine woman who is willing to cooperate, who's willing to value her family and put them first.
Yeah. Agreed. I don't think there's a man out there that doesn't want that. Definitely not a powerful man.
It's the term cooperative. Men want cooperative wives. I know women don't like the sound of that.
That just means you work.
We don't like how that sounds. But what is the basic concept?
But it just means
what
you
does
work
this mean?
working with him. Work with him.
He wants a woman to work with him. He wants a wife who will work with him and not against him.
Yeah, work with me.
Someone who's not so rigid and it has to be my way or the highway, but someone who's flexible, someone who's willing to work with him.
Yeah, just work with me. Just work with me.
We know the Bible calls it a helpmeet. That a woman, the
people don't like that word,
is a helpmeet to her husband. Some people don't like it because they think that it's less than versus a different and complementary role.
It's a different and complementary role.
That is a very powerful role.
And it's a partnership. When you're working with someone, you're partnering with that person. So it's cool.
Right.
Yeah.
If this man can meet your socioeconomic standard, which is rather on the higher side, I think it's fair to say he can meet most women's. Why would a man choose you over thousands of other women? That's the question. And if this man is up here, just like you would have to settle, he'd have to settle. Is it fair to ask him to settle?
No.
And he's not going to.
So what do you think? Is it fair to ask the man to settle?
No, I think that our culture now is very feminist, to be honest. Ladies, y'all
Very.
know things are in our favor now. The tables have turned. There's a lot of double standards. I'm not saying that there are not still double standards that are not in our favor. There definitely are. But our society overall is catering towards women. Women are constantly talking about, I don't want to settle, I don't want to settle. But men should not have to settle either. And when we're talking about this epidemic of these statistics of Black women getting married, it is alarming what the trend is. We do have to understand that men do have standards, just like women have standards. If we're saying that we want a man, and I'm not agreeing with how Kevin determines this woman's value or any woman's value for that matter, because I will put this disclaimer out there, even though I agree with a lot of things he said in this video. There's some things in other videos I don't agree with at all, and I do not consume a lot of his content. But I will say that women have standards all the way up here, all the way into the heavens sometimes. I personally know women who are aiming for a man with the build of a football player, who's 6'5", who's making six figures. She doesn't work out at all. She is making $40K a year. In her mind, just because she's a woman, she deserves someone that's on that level. Kevin is asking what qualifies you for the standard of a man that you are looking for. Really, the question we should more so ask ourselves is, what type of woman is the type of man I want looking for?
I agree.
And do I fit that criteria?
And if not, how can I?
Exactly. How can I fit that criteria? So if you want a really athletic man, go get in the gym. Maybe you'll meet him. Maybe you will find him in there. If you want a man that loves the Lord, start going to church. I dare say maybe even Sunday school. Thursday night Bible study where only the real disciples go.
A lot of times that'd be old dudes, real old dudes. You talking about Sunday school.
Maybe you want an old saint. Maybe you need an old saint.
Well, he'll probably have life insurance for you, maybe.
But the question is, have you become or are you becoming the kind of woman that that man is looking for? And do you understand the kind of woman that that man is looking for?
Yeah. And my response to should men have to settle? No, I don't think anyone should have to settle necessarily unless they have unrealistic expectations for where they are, or I hate to use his term, but sexual marketplace value. You have to understand like what you have working for you that is attractive to the opposite gender, and also what you don't have working for you. I do disagree with him on his points in this particular section where he was trying to say,
Do you earn over six figures?
No, I don't.
well, then you shouldn't expect six figures from that man. Now, why do I disagree with that? Not because I think she should be able to expect six figures, but as a woman, you don't have to earn six figures to be with a man that earns six figures. You don't. But
That's true.
to make that your standard, I don't think that's probably wise, because there's just not enough of those out there. You can do it. Now, there's a lot of women that are smart at doing it. They focus on things that a lot of women don't want to hear, and a lot of that's the aesthetics. And they also hang out in places where those guys are, expensive steakhouses. They're going to places where those types of guys are.
Finding their social circles.
They're finding social circles. They're social butterflies in those circles. You don't have to have those things in order to get that from a man. So I disagree with whatever point he was trying to make with that. But at the same time, I don't think it's fair for women to not consider her equal what he wants as well. And he may not want the things that she is bringing to the table. That's just the facts. If he did want it, he would marry you.
Yeah. Wow.
This is what tends to happen with women. You're hypergamous. You want a man to have at least what you have. What happens the longer you work in your profession? You make more money. The older one gets, the more you've experienced. You want a man that's way up here, but your sexual marketplace value is down here.
All right, so he's touching on an interesting concept, hypergamy. That's an interesting term, it means marrying up. He brought up an interesting point, which he didn't really touch on. He was saying that as a woman works more and more in her career, she's going to earn more and more, which then makes it harder for her to find someone to earn at least as much or more.
Right. Because then she's aiming higher and higher and higher as she gets older and older.
Relative to herself, which
Right.
is an interesting concept. So maybe then we should be training them, and it is not going to help this woman, but maybe training them to find a husband sooner. Then if you're younger people earn less relative to older people. So if you're younger, you can probably get a better chance of finding a man that's earning more because you're earlier in your career. It's easier to meet that qualification.
Right.
As a result, if she sticks in her career, grinds with her nose to the ground, all her work the entire time for, 10, 15 years, now she's a top earner. It's much harder for her to find this man that is at least on her income level or above.
Right.
If you look at other cultures, you see that all the time, actually. Other cultures, white girls, Asian girls, and I don't mean to be overly general, and I recognize that there's a whole modern woman thing that seeps into every culture now, in the West at least. I remember being in college and we realized like, oh man, and this girl, oh man, she just graduated and she getting married next year. Oh wow, such and such is getting married. And it would be like right after they got out of college. Almost immediately they're getting married. We noticed it was mostly people from other cultures, other races, and they were getting married right away. Now, and generally women do marry someone a little bit older, so it means he's been in his career a little bit longer. So he's making more money than her. Now she's gonna probably come back around and start working in her career and she'll start earning more again, but there is a little gap there, so she feels like she's married up.
Right.
She feels like she's married up because she's with a man that's older already, who's more established generally, and is generally making a little bit more money because she's younger.
So what should the women who are this woman's age or older, what should they do? I mean, there's not a
It's
way
too
for
late.
them to turn back the clock.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's not too late.
36 is not that old. It's still relatively young, but there's a lot of women that's 36 plus.
I don't know about that.
Especially in the African American community.
I don't know about that.
There's a lot of women that are just that old and older who are still looking for a husband. So to say that there's nothing you can do about it because
It's too
you
late.
can't turn back the clock. But what do you do now when you are making more money? You do have elevated standards.
Telling
Can't
you.
have you discouraging our older women now.
No, you don't have to be discouraged because I think that you can find a man, but I think that you may not be able to be as picky on he's got to make more money than me. Well, you're a professional and you've been in your career all these years. Maybe you chose a better career path than him.
Yeah.
It's very possible. So it's going to be harder for you to find all of your check marks because you put career first, and that's okay, right? If that's what you wanted to do, you put career first when you got out of school or when you became an adult.
And maybe it's not that it's settling or lowering your standards. Maybe it's adjusting the financial standard.
Yeah.
But you still are not settling when you marry a man that is of high quality,
Yeah.
character,
And treat you
a
well.
man who has integrity, a man who's going to be an excellent father, a man who's going to be an excellent husband, and a man who's financially responsible. You don't want to be nobody's mama now.
And it's not
So-
about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. So if the brother is smart with his money, he may make less, but he might make that thing stretch more. He might have more. You can make a lot of money and spend more money and be broke. Or you can make less money and save and invest more money and have more money than the other person.
And it's about having good financial sense. You want to marry someone that's financially responsible, and that's anyone at any income level. But that does not mean that he is beneath you because he makes less money than you do. And that is the standard we're talking about adjusting. Wrapping this up, why are men intimidated, or are men intimidated?
Some men are. Some men are legitimately intimidated. And
By what?
well, some men that are undereducated or less confident may not know how he stacks up. He may feel intimidated because the woman is making a lot more money than him. She's more articulate, better educated. That's true. Sometimes they do run into that issue. At the same time, some men are not intimidated. They're scared. And what I mean by that is they're scared you're gonna cost them every dime they got. And they don't want to deal with that. They don't want to pay for your lifestyle. That's what they're scared of. Some of these brothers are not intimidated, they are terrified.
That reminds me of this new Netflix show. What is it called? That I
The
just started
Ultimatum.
Yes, The Ultimatum. This guy is having his first conversation with his female, and she's like the standard blonde bombshell, I guess. She says something that turns him all the way off. Like, he tunes her completely out after that. He's like, this is literally over. Like, I am not gonna even consider this woman. I don't think any man here would. And you know what this disqualifying conversation was? She's looking for not just a comfortable lifestyle, not just decent earnings, but she is looking for someone who's going to provide the nicer things. She said, I don't want to have to choose between this and that.
You're not an adult.
I don't want to have to choose between this and that. I want to be able to have what I want. He's like, he didn't say this to her. He said this to the producers. I don't think I make enough money to satisfy her. And even though she was really into him, y'all, after this, she said that he was her number one choice. And she was so upset when he said, I don't see a future with you. But he literally stopped considering her after she said this, because in his mind, she's high maintenance and she is going to spend all of my money. He wasn't the only one. There was another one on the show who came there with his girlfriend who he is in love with. She brought him on the show as an ultimatum, like, marry me or we break up. He said the reason he was not ready to marry her is that she likes the finer things in life, and he wants financial stability and security. He wants to be able to pay off his debts. He's trying to be very frugal with his money, and he felt that she really may ruin him financially.
I wouldn't marry her either. If you're gonna make me be broke.
Money ruins a lot of marriages, y'all. A lot of marriages. So before getting into a marriage, people have to really be clear about what their values are and how they're willing to work with one another, and how important is money, and is money really the end all be all? Is it more important than your family?
Well, anyway, guys, that's our thoughts. If you made it this far in the video, please comment love. If it's your first time and you just subscribed, make sure you write in the comments that you subscribe, and we will reach out to you. And thank you for joining the community.
Next, we are queuing up for you our first Kevin Samuels response video. And this one is a little different, y'all, and it gets into the nitty gritty, what we agree with and what we don't about why Black women are not getting married, and what are the primary things that men really want in a wife. What are they really looking for? So make sure that you check that one out. Like this video, click subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss an upload.
Until next time, peace.